Welcome to Shriram's IAS. So today we'll continue with our revision classes or revision videos in which we'll be discussing the most probable topics which will come in this year or the particular exam 2025 prelims which will happen day after tomorrow. Okay, it's a quick revision series. Don't get into details of it. Just look into the key terms which I'll be discussing in this particular video. Okay. So without wasting any time, let's proceed to the slide number 1. The topic today which we'll be discussing is Vijayanagar Empire. And as I have discussed in previous year questions also, Vijayanagar Empire is a very important topic which UPSC revisits. At times what has happened that it has come in the successive UPSC civil services prelims exam. So that's why this topic is very important. In the same way yesterday we discussed about the Sangam era terms or Sangam age terms which are most probable for the upcoming UPSC prelims 2025. Okay, so let's go to the slide number 1. It will be a very quick series, it will be very quick video, and try to just mug it up as much as you can and just try to revise Vijayanagar Empire from this particular video. Okay, so the first slide tells you, but the first statement is 4 dynasties: Sangam, Saluva, Talua and Aravidu. Okay, these were the 4 dynasties in the Vijayanagar Empire. Okay, at the end of it, later on, the Bahmani or Deccan Sultanate basically overpowered Vijayanagar Empire. So that's why these 4 dynasties, the name of these dynasties are very important for all of you. The next important fact which has been written here is literary sources. Krishnadev Raya's Amukta Malyada. It's the literary sources which basically tell us about the Vijayanagar Empire. So that's why these literary sources are very much important. Okay, the next one is Ganga Devi's Madura Vijayam. Now Ganga Devi was a women author. Okay, that's why it becomes very important. UPSC might ask in the paper about match the following or these kind of terms, or Madura Vijayam, they will give some detail about Madura Vijayam, about the book Madura Vijayam, and they will ask who is the author of this particular book. So that's why this fact becomes very important, because first of all, it's a very valid literary source of Vijayanagar Empire, and second, it has been written by a women author. That's why. Okay, the third statement is, the third particular literary source is Alasi Peddana's Manucharitam. Okay, he is also known as Andhra Pitama in terms of literary terms, and basically he is the chief proponent of Telugu language. So that's why Alasani Peddana's Manucharitam becomes very important. Okay, now let's move to the next source, which will tell you about the foreign travelers who visited Vijayanagar Empire. So the foreign travelers account is usually considered neutral by nature. So it becomes very authentic. And that's why the name of these travelers and their successive accounts become very much important for all of you for the exam. Okay, the first one was Moroccan traveler Ibn Battuta. Okay, he was Moroccan. Okay, he was from Morocco. Then Venetian traveler Niccolo di Conti. Next one, Persian traveler Abdul Razzaq. And the fourth one, Portuguese traveler Domenico Paes. I will be discussing about the various accounts given by them in short while discussing the further slides. Okay, so the next one is about another source which tells us about the Vijayanagar Empire, and that source is Sri Rangam copper plate inscription. What that particular inscription was about? It was about Devarai II. Okay, and who was Devarai II? Devarai II was the greatest ruler of Sangama dynasty. I already told you there were 4 dynasties in Vijayanagar Empire. The first one was Sangama, and he was the greatest ruler of Sangama dynasty. So that's why this particular fact and this particular inscription becomes very important. Then provides the genealogy and achievements of Vijayanagar rulers. So this copper plate basically tells you about the genealogy of Vijayanagar rulers. That's why this becomes very important. Okay. The next fact which we are going to deal is about Harihar and Bukka. Harihar and Bukka were the founder of Vijayanagar Empire. That's why they are very important. Okay. And while talking about Harihar Bukka, there are few facts about them which you need to remember. The first one is originally served under the Kakatiya rulers of Warangal. They were the feudatories of Kakatiya rulers of Warangal. So that's why this fact is very important. The next one is reverted to Hinduism at the initiative of Saint Vidyaranya. Okay, reverted back. They were earlier Hindus, then they converted or were forced to convert into Islam, and then again they basically converted into Hinduism on the initiative of Vidyaranya, Saint Vidyaranya. That's why this particular fact is very important. Okay. The next fact is founded a new city on the south bank of Tungabhadra river. On the south bank of Tungabhadra river, Vijayanagar city was established, and it was established by both of them. So that's why Hariharan Bukka become very important in this particular topic. The next one is decline of Hoysalas helped them to expand. It was not the decline of Kakatiyas. Try to give very special attention to this. It was not the decline of Kakatiyas, it was the decline of Hoysalas, which facilitated their expansion into other areas. Okay. Now, another very important fact is about the conflict between Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdom and what that conflict was about. Okay. And the reason, or basically the areas of conflict between Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdom were, first of all, dispute over Raichur Doab. Raichur Doab. Okay, Doab, two rivers getting confluenced. Which two rivers? Krishna and Tungabhadra. That's why this becomes very important. And the another reason of their dispute was the fertile areas of Krishna Godavari Delta. Not only one. People usually will talk about only one, Raichur Doab. It was the major one. But the another one was the fertile land of Krishna Godavari Delta. This is also very important. So that's why give special attention to these kind of facts. Another one, and the most important figure in the Vijayanagar Empire and the most powerful king of Vijayanagar Empire was Krishnadeva Rai, who belonged to Taluva dynasty. The third one, the third dynasty in terms of chronology, which appears in Vijayanagar Empire. Okay. And about Krishnadeva Raya, every fact is very important. I'll repeat it again. Every fact about Krishnadeva Raya is very much important. So give special attention to the upcoming lines. Okay. The first one is about Taluva dynasty. The next one is by his time, Bahmani kingdom was replaced by Deccan Sultanates. Bahmani kingdom was replaced by Deccan Sultanates. Deccan Sultanates contained 4 sultanates. Okay. Bidar, Bijapur, etc. So that's why this is very important that by his time Bahmani kingdom was transitioned or had transitioned to Deccan Sultanates. The next one is Battle of Diwani. Battle of Diwani is very much important because in this battle only Krishnadeva Rai asserted his reign or asserted his power over all the Muslim armies. He defeated all the Muslim armies in the Battle of Diwani. The next one is he invaded Raichur Doab. Already told you it was the bone of contention between the Vijayanagar Empire and Bahmani kingdom, and after Bahmani kingdom between Vijayanagar Empire and Deccan Sultanates. So that's why he invaded Raichur Doab, resulting in confrontation with Sultan of Bijapur. Bijapur was probably one of the most important or the most important Sultanate among Deccan Sultanates. Got it? And who was the Sultan of Bijapur at that time? Islam Adil Shah. These facts are very important. They might be asked in sentence form or as match the following in your exam. So that's why I'm discussing or I'm pinpointing these facts only. The next one is he also invaded Bidar. Bidar was another Sultanate, Deccan Sultanate. Okay. Next, he campaigned against Odisha very successfully. And the last fact about his military campaigns is he defeated Gajapati rulers. About Gajapati rulers, UPSC has already asked question with reference to Vijayanagar Empire. So that's why it is very important. Defeated the Gajapati rulers, Pratap Rudra, and basically subsumed the whole of Telangana, the present day Telangana. So that's why it becomes very important. The next one is maintained friendly relations. Now see, it's a difference in his take. He maintained friendly relations with Portuguese. Portuguese had already arrived till Krishnadeva Raya became the king of Vijayanagar Empire. So that's why he maintained a friendly relation with Portuguese. And Albuquerque, who was the Portuguese governor, he sent his emissary to his court, ambassadors to Krishnadeva Raya's court. So it becomes very important. You might be asked that which of the following Portuguese governors sent their ambassadors or emissaries to Krishnadeva Raya's court, and your answer will be Albuquerque. Okay. The next one, he was a Vaishnavite. He was a Vaishnavite. Majorly all the Vijayanagar Empire, what we can say, all the dynasties of Vijayanagar Empire were primarily Vaishnavite, except Sangamas. Sangamas were Shaivite. We'll be discussing it, we'll be pinpointing it again in this particular video. Vaishnavite, but respected all religions. He was tolerant by nature, and it was true for all the Vijayanagar rulers. They were tolerant in their attitude. And the next fact is, he was also known as Andhra Bhoj. He was known as Andhra Bhoj. Bhoj is very famous title of very, what you can say, likable or great kings of Western India. And that particular title was bestowed on Krishna Dev Raya also. He is known as Andhra Bhoj. Andhra Pradesh's Bhoj. Got it? The next one is, his court was basically bejeweled by Ashtadiggaj. 8 eminent scholars, just like Akbar had Navratan. In the same way, Krishna Dev Raya had Ashtadiggaj. 8 eminent scholars at his court, and few of them which are very important, which you need to remember for the exam is, first one and the most important one, Allasani Pedanna. Allasani Pedanna, I already told you that his work, Manucharitam, is considered one of the important, one of the most authentic sources, literary sources to study Vijayanagar Empire. So Allasani Pedanna is very important, and he is distinguished in Telugu literature. And that's why he was called Andhra Kavita Pitamaga. Andhra Kavita Pitamaga. Now this term is very important. Andhra Kavita Pitamaga basically represents whom? It can be asked you that an option will be Krishna Dev Raya, because he also used to write. But the correct answer will be Allasani Pedanna. Got it? The next one is, he wrote the kind of the works which he did, Manucharitam and Hari Katha Saram. Hari Katha Saram and Manucharitam. These were one of the two most important literary works done by Allasani Pedanna. The next important fact is, or the next important eminent scholar among Ashtadiggaj is Pingali Suranna. And the next one is Tenali Ramakrishna, who is famously known as Tenali Raman. You might have heard about him, just like Akbar Birbal, Krishna Dev Raya and Tenali Raman. This particular thing is very much common, and he is quite famous. Okay. Now the next one is, Krishna Dev Raya himself authored some books, and they become very important because it's a rarity. Kings were involved in other works, administrative works or kingly works, but they were not in the history of Indian what we can say history, in the history of Indian kings and all, Indian royalty. There are very few kings who themselves got involved in writing something or literary works. So that's why these particular facts or these particular books, the name of these books become very important, because they have been written by none other than Krishna Dev Raya himself. And he wrote Amukta Malyada. Amukta Malyada is a Telugu work. It's a work done in Telugu language. Telugu language got the most important boost during Vijayanagar Empire in general, and specifically under Krishna Dev Raya. The next one is Jambavati Kalyanam, and another one is Usha Parinayan. These both are Sanskrit works of Krishna Dev Raya. So that's why they are very important. This is Telugu work, Amukta Malyada, and Jambavati Kalyanam and Usha Parinayam are Sanskrit works. So that's why they are very important. The next one is, he repaired most of the temples of South India. Another important fact, though it is quite normal to comprehend, but still try to remember these kind of things UPSC does. In anxiety or in exam pressure, we are forced, or aspirants are forced to commit mistakes in such easy questions, easy pickings. So that's why give due attention to these kind of facts. The next one is, he also built the famous Vitthal Swami and Hazara Rama Swami temple at Vijayanagar. These are very important points. These are about the temples which are built under Krishna Dev Raya's patronage. And these were Vitthal Swami and Hazara Rama Swami temples at Vijayanagar. Okay, the next fact is, he also built a new city called Naglapuram in memory of his wife, and the name of the queen was none other than Nagla Devi. So a city was also constructed by him, and the name was Naglapuram based on Nagla Devi, his wife or queen, whatever you can say. The next important fact is he built a large number of Raya Gopurams. What were Raya Gopurams? Raya Gopuram was great mammoth gateways. Okay, and it is a characteristic feature of Vijayanagar architecture. Gopurams were introduced by Vijayanagar architecture, so that's why they become very important. Okay, now the next one is Battle of Talaikota. I'm skipping a lot of things in between because right now for an exam which is going to be conducted day after tomorrow, these particular points are more important as compared to them. We'll delve into all these topics in detail in upcoming classes after pre, when we'll be dealing with all these things in detail, that what happened, how it happened, why it happened, and all those kind of things. But right now we are only dealing with what. Just what. Nothing more, nothing less. What it is. What is Battle of Talaikota? Battle of Talaikota is famously known as Rakshasa Thangadi. Rakshasa Thangadal. Why it is called as Rakshasa Thangadal? Because in Battle of Talaikota, it is basically the end of Vijayanagar Empire in all practical senses. Of course, Vijayanagar Empire stayed after that also, but in all practical senses, the grandeur of Vijayanagar Empire was finished. Their relevance was finished. And why it was finished? Because in this, the combined forces of Bijapur, Ahmednagar, Golconda and Bidar defeated Ramaraya. Ramaraya was the Vijayanagar king at that point in time, and he was defeated by the joint army, the combined army of Deccan Sultanates. That's why Battle of Talaikota becomes very important, and this term is also very important, Rakshasa Thangadal. Okay, this event is known as Rakshasa Thangadal. The next one is, what happened after that? The city of Vijayanagar was destroyed. See, the city of Vijayanagar was destroyed in the Battle of Talaikota. Next one, generally the end of Vijayanagar Empire. Generally, not specifically. Why not specifically? Because Vijayanagar Empire stayed even after that. But the importance, the relevance of Vijayanagar Empire was no more. That's why it is very important. Got it? The next one is Vijayanagar Empire existed under the Aravidu dynasty, the last dynasty of Vijayanagar Empire. It existed, but it had no relevance. Got it? The next one is administration. That's a very important point because UPSC dwells into Vijayanagar Empire's administration, social life and these kind of things. Economic condition, art and architecture, all these points are very important in the context of Vijayanagar Empire. So that's why give due attention to these terms or these points. The first one is the king enjoyed absolute authority. Now I'll tell you an example how you all will be confused. See, here it is saying the king enjoyed absolute authority in executive, judicial and legislative matters. But again, the different what we can say officials were also given autonomy. They had all the power. Vijayanagar gave full powers to the local authorities in the administration. So it's a dichotomy, but it is true. So that's why try to understand these all things are very much important. Give due importance to these very small facts. They are very important. So that's why the king enjoyed absolute authority in all the features of a state. But still, he gave full power to local authorities in administration. Got it? Now, the next point is he was the highest court of appeal, which is quite obvious. The next one is succession. Succession was based on principle of hereditary. Principle of hereditary was followed for succession, but there is an exception to it. What exception? Sometimes usurpation of the throne took place, as Saluva Narasimha. Saluva Narasimha basically toppled the Sangama ruler. So that's why this particular point is an exception to the succession principle of hereditary. Got it? The next point is different administrative units. The name of these different administrative units are in descending order of the area of influence. So that's why this becomes very important. UPSC can ask you the chronological order of the administrative units in terms of area, and it starts from Mandalam, then Nadus, then Sthalas, and then Gram. Got it? This is in descending order of importance or area of influence. So that's why this is very important. The next one is Mandaleshwar or Nayak, governor of Mandalam. Mandalam had governor. Mandalam was just like a province, present day state. And who used to head it? He was known as Mandaleshwar or Nayak. Got it? The next one is, I already discussed about this, Vijayanagar Empire, where rulers gave full powers to the local authorities. Okay. Now land revenue was 1/6 of the produce. 1/6 of the produce. Next, harsh punishments were there. It was a progressive kingdom, but the punishments were very harsh. So you might be given some statements which will look on the Vijayanagar Empire's administrative system as a progressive one. But then they will give these kind of points, mutilation and throwing of elephants. And you will get confused that if a particular kingdom of a particular king is progressive, then why he is using such coercive measures? So try to understand these coercive measures did exist during Vijayanagar Empire, and they were mutilation and throwing to elephants. These are barbaric by nature. So that's why it is different from the common notion which you receive from Vijayanagar Empire's administration. Got it? The next one is high-breed horses for cavalry was procured from foreign traders. This is again very important point. Very important. Next one, Nayaks or Polygars. Who were Nayaks and Polygars? Very important, Nayaks or Polygars. UPSC asked question about Nayaks or Polygars. So that's why these facts, these points become very important. Nayaks or Polygars, top grade officers of the army. They were the top grade officers of the army, and these people were known as Nayaks or Polygars, and they were granted land in lieu of their services. And what was that land called? That land was known as Amaram. Amaram, whatever you want to call it. So this is very important term, Amaram. Amaram was the land given to Nayaks or Polygars in lieu of their service. So that's why Amaram term becomes very important. Okay. The next one is soldiers were usually paid in cash. Another very important point, because you all might get confused in paper that soldiers were also given land, some small piece of land, but some kind of land. But it is not going to be true, because they were paid generally in cash. Got it? Now let's move to the another slide. It is about the social life of Vijayanagar Empire. And how was the social life of, what were the major points of the social life of Vijayanagar Empire? That we are going to discuss here. Got it? The first one is four castes. Four castes which has been mentioned in Manucharitam by Alasani Pedanna. This name is coming the third time in this slide, in this particular video. So it is very important. Manucharitam by Alasani Pedanna mentions four castes: Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Just like Vedic Varna system, nothing different. But it is very important, because you might get confused that earlier when I took basically the terms, the classes of terms for Sangam literature, there were different kinds, the name of the caste were different. But here it is same to the Vedic interpretation. So try to remember these kind of facts. Now, some foreign accounts means that accounts of foreign travelers. Now what Domenico Pius said? Domenico Pius talks about beautiful houses of the rich and the large number of their household servants. This is very important. The next one is Niccolo Conti. What did Niccolo Conti say, or what did Niccolo Conti write? He wrote that slavery was prevalent. So this fact is also important. Who said this is also very important. Next one, Sangama rulers. Sangama rulers were Shaivites, family deity Virupaksha. They used to worship Virupaksha or Virupaksha. I told you earlier also, majorly all the Vijayanagar empires or the dynasties were Vaishnavite, but Sangama rulers or Sangama dynasty rulers were different. They were Shaivite and they used to worship Virupaksha. So that's why this fact becomes very important. And epics and Puranas, popular among masses. Epics and Puran were very popular among masses. Now let's get into the position of women. That what was the position of women? It's again very important term because UPSC asks these kind of things in exam. That what is the position of women during a particular empire? That's why this is very important. And what is the position of women? It didn't improve. Though there were some instances, there were some examples, or there were some initiatives which might appear as they were progressive by nature for women, but the actual position of women did not improve even in Vijayanagara Empire. Now, what are those examples we basically tell us or mislead us into thinking that the position of women improved? That we'll look into it now. The first one is the author, women author like Ganga Devi, who wrote Madura Vijayam, an authentic source, literary source to study about Vijayanagara Empire. And Ganga Devi was the wife of Kumar Kampan. Got it? Another important fact, Hannamma and Thirumalamma, these were famous women authors, poets. Okay, so these names are very important, Hannamma and Thirumalamma. The next point, Fernão Nunes, another account of foreign traveler, very important, Fernão Nunes. He tells basically that a large number of women were employed in royal palaces as dancers, domestic servants and palki bearers. But even if you look at these examples, if we'll leave the author thing, if we leave the author, the women authors or women poets away from this particular whole set of position of women, what we'll get here, what basically we achieve is that they were given petty jobs as dancers. These are not honorable jobs. Domestic servants, then palki bearers. So this basically tells that the position of women did not improve. Got it? Next one. The next one is Domenico Pius's account. What he says, Devdasi system was flourishing. And what was Devdasi system? Attachment of dancing girls to temples. Devdasi Pratha, Devdasi, we can say system, this prevailed for a very long period of time. So that's why it is very important that Domenico Pius mentions this, that in Vijayanagara Empire, the Devdasi system was flourishing. And what it is basically attachment of dancing girls to temples. Got it? The next point, polygamy. It was prevalent among the royal families. Among royal families not prevalent, but not the general public. The next point, Fernão Nunes, another foreign accounts words, Sati was honored. The Sati system was honored. This again tells you that the position of women was not good. Sati was an ill practice that we all know. So that's why if Sati was honored, then that means that particular society is conservative or backward or orthodox. So that's why this particular point becomes very important. It is anyway important, but because Fernão Nunes has written about it, who is a foreign traveler, it becomes much more important. Got it? The next one is other dynasties. Vaishnavites, I told you, most of the dynasties, the rest of 3 dynasties, apart from Sangama, were Vaishnavites. And they were great followers of Sri Vaishnavism of Ramanuja. It was very popular. Okay? Sri Vaishnavism of Ramanujacharya was very famous among all the people. So this is also very important fact. Got it? Now, the next one is all kings were tolerant towards other religion. And how does this particular point get substantiated? It is substantiated by Duarte Barbosa, another foreign traveler who writes about religious freedom. Muslims were employed in the administration and freely allowed to build mosque and worship. Muslims were freely employed in the army and other administrative systems. And they were free to construct mosque and worship. So that's why it tells basically about the Vijayanagara Empire rulers that they were tolerant by nature. Okay. So these points are very much important, and try to give due importance to it, give due attention to it. Just go through it once and you'll be able to recall what you studied while you were studying for the whole year course. This will basically help you to revise in a fast manner, because audio visual has a better impact on memory than just reading. Okay, it is quite scientific by nature. So that's why just go through these terms, go through these facts while you are sitting idle or having a free time while you are studying the whole day, having dinner or some time like that. You can go through these particular points and it will help you in exam, because right now you need quick revision as much as you can. The next one is about the economic condition. Now, what was the economic condition? Now, I'll not explain the whole economic condition of Vijayanagara Empire. Anyway, they were, as per the foreign accounts, they were one of the richest empire in the whole world. That's what foreign travelers used to say. But try to understand, here I have only compiled the very important terms which are most probable to come in your UPSC 2025. The first one is Varah. Varah was the chief gold coin. But see the caveat here. What is the caveat? Caveat is, but weights and measures varied from place to place. There was lack of continuity among the standards, the weight standards. So that's why their weight varied across the whole region. Got it? Next is Kannanur. What was Kannanur? Kannanur was a seaport on the Malabar coast, the most important seaport on the Malabar coast of Vijayanagara Empire. The next one is commercial contracts. Now, there were commercial contracts on the both sides of Vijayanagara Empire. On the western side, it was with Arabia, Persia, South Africa and Portugal. And on the eastern side, it was with Burma, Malay Peninsula, Myanmar and China. So these particular facts become very important. It talk about the commercial contracts of Vijayanagara Empire. They had commercial contracts with these all countries or within these all countries. So that's why it is very important. The next one is chief exports. What were the chief exports? Cotton, silk cloth, spices, rice, iron, saltpeter and sugar. These were chief exports. And what were the chief imports? Now look into the imports. The chief imports were horses, pearls. See, this is again very, very, very important. See, whenever these kind of terms will come, you will get confused, because initially India was exporting pearls, but Vijayanagara Empire was importing pearls. So that's why these kind of distractors can be used by UPSC to confuse you all in the exam. Got it? Pearls, copper, coral, mercury, China silk and velvet clothes. All these were the chief imports of Vijayanagara Empire. Got it? The next one is the art of shipbuilding had developed. The art of shipbuilding had developed already. So that's why this particular fact is also very important. The next one, cultural contributions. It is very important. Okay, in the medieval part of India, Vijayanagara Empire's culture contributions hold a very important place in the UPSC preparation of art and culture part. So that's why give due attention to the lines which I'm going to say now, or the points I'm going to make right now. Okay, the first one is about Vijayanagara architecture. I already discussed about it. Raya Gopuram or gateways. And which places were famous for these Raya Gopurams or gateways? Thiruvannamalai and Chidambaram. Continued by Nayak rulers. Basically, when the Vijayanagara Empire declined, the construction of Gopurams or Raya Gopurams, this whole system in Thiruvannamalai and Chidambaram were continued by Nayak rulers, Nayaks. The Nayaks and Polygars, I already told you. Okay? So those Nayaks and Polygars, when the Vijayanagara Empire declined, they became strong and they started ruling their own kingdom, their own principalities. And they continued with the trend of Raya Gopurams. So that's why Raya Gopurams become very important even after Vijayanagara Empire. Got it? Now next was, just like Raya Gopuram, there was Kalyan Mandapam with carved pillars in the temple premises. Got it? And what these carved pillars had on themselves? They basically, most we can say, most particularly they had horse, was the most common animal found in these pillars. Horse was the most common animal found in these pillars. So that's why this fact becomes very important. Another fact, mandapams were used for sitting the deity or deity during the, see, the deity or the chief deity is usually placed in the Garbhagriha, sanctum sanctorum. But during chief occasions or during festive occasions, it was taken up from there and put into or placed under Kalyan Mandap. So that's why Kalyan Mandap is used. Got it? Now, the next one is, which were the most important temples of Vijayanagar Empire? First of all, let's look into those temples who were in Hampi ruins. Basically, when Vijayanagar city was ruined or was destroyed, so those particular ruins are known as Hampi ruins. Okay, and these were Vithala Swami temple. First of all, Vithala Swami temple was in Hampi only. Another one was Hajara Rama Swami temple. Hajara Rama Swami temple, these both were constructed during Krishnadev Rai. So these two temples were basically constructed during Krishnadev Rai and their location is Hampi. And what about Kanchipuram? At Kanchipuram, Vardharaj temple and Ekam Pranath temple. These both temples are placed in Kanchipuram. So you might be confused, or you will be asked questions in such a fashion that you will get confused about the place of these temples. So you need to give due attention to these temples and where they are located. They all belong to Vijayanagar rulers only, Vijayanagar Empire only, but they were placed at different places. One at Hampi ruins and another one is Kanchipuram. Okay. Next one, Tirupati. Now Tirupati, this particular place becomes very important. Tirupati, as you all know, Balaji temple is placed in Tirupati. It is one of the most important religious places for Hindus. Now, what does Tirupati have? Tirupati has metal images of Krishnadev Rai and his queens. Metal images. So you might be asked, where can we find metal images of Krishnadev Rai? And in option it will be given Vijayanagar or Hampi, or we can say Kanchipuram, but the correct answer will be Tirupati. Got it? The next one is, which languages flourished? Which languages flourished? And the option will be only Telugu, which will be wrong, or only Telugu and Sanskrit. That again will be wrong, because Telugu and Sanskrit were given special focus. But there were 4 languages who flourished during Vijayanagar Empire, and they were Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada and Tamil. So all these 4 languages flourished during Vijayanagar Empire. But if we want to know, the focus was on two basically language which had great developments, and which were Sanskrit and Telugu. Sanskrit and Telugu literature was given special emphasis. But all the 4 languages mentioned in this slide flourished during Vijayanagar Empire. Okay, so these particular facts are very important. Give due attention to all of them. Okay, and that is all for today's session. I just urge you all to go through this particular video and try to just mug up all the terms or look into all these terms. Try to have a quick revision of this particular topic using this video. It will be very beneficial for you for this year's exam, and I bid you all the best for the upcoming exam. If time allows us, we'll come up with another revision video, a short revision video for the most probable topics which can come in upcoming prelims. Okay, thank you.